In Chapter 7, we are going to build on what we learned in Chapter 6. We're going to go on from what we learned in the reactions of alkenes, and we're going to apply some of that chemistry to alkynes. So, of course, these two functional groups have the similarity that they both have carbon-carbon pi bonds. So the pi bonds in alkenes will show us the way to how reactions in alkynes will take place. So before we go into the reactions, though, we're going to follow our usual strategy, and we're going to spend a little bit of time in this first video talking about how to name alkynes. So the naming we're going to use is just going to be similar and just an extension of what we've learned before. After that, in the second video, we're going to talk a little bit about the three-dimensional structure of alkynes. We've mentioned this before, and we're going to talk about their reactivity, not only just the reactivity of alkynes, but how the reactivity of alkynes compares to that of alkenes. We'll then we'll use one reaction to help our discussion here, and this is the addition of hydrogen halide, so HBr, HCl, to the alkyne. So that'll all be in video 2. In video 3, we'll add 3 more types of reactions. We'll do the addition of halogens, so like bromine Br2 or Cl2. We'll look at the addition of water, so these are the hydration reactions. Like the hydration reactions of alkenes, we'll have several different ways to do this. And then we'll finish off the third video looking at hydrogenation reactions, so how we can add H2 across triple bonds. The fourth video, we'll talk about a different type of reactivity of alkynes, and that has to do with its acid-base properties of alkynes that have an H on one end. And we'll see that this will lead to a certain type of reaction that we can use in chemical synthesis. So that's kind of a short video, but then we'll apply those methods in video 5, looking more in depth at some synthesis problems. So, to start, alkynes are found in nature, though not quite as commonly as alkenes. I've just drawn 2 examples of some complicated molecules here. The first one is called cyclotoxin. All right, notice that this molecule has 2 alkynes and it has 3 alkenes. Right, so this has got quite a linear structure. And this molecule comes from a plant called the water hemlock. And in fact, this compound is very poisonous, causes neurological problems, and in fact, this water hemlock is one of the more poisonous plants found in North America. This amazingly complicated molecule down here at the bottom is called calicheamycin gamma 1, and this is produced by bacteria. All right. The interesting parts of this, not that it has various complicated structures. Look at all the chiral centers and different functional groups, but its alkynes are over in this part of the molecule, and there's 2 of those and a double bond. So this part of the molecule is often called an ene diene. So ene for the double bond, diene for 2 triple bonds. All right. In this molecule, there's some very interesting types of reactivity. So this molecule has very strong anti-cancer activities, and it causes DNA to be cleaved. And the way that this takes place, it's unusual in that the reactivity here in the biological system follows real organic chemistry reactions. We often don't see that for drug molecules. So the first thing that happens is this interesting trisulfur piece over here gets cleaved off. And the sulfur here bends back around and it reacts with that carbon. And because that carbon there has the double bond on it, can't hold any more electrons, so it gives up the pi bond, and those electrons can move up onto the oxygen. So what this does is it forms a new ring, changes the shape of the molecule, and so once that takes place, this bottom part, I'm going to show these as single-sided arrows, so these are single electrons moving, does a cyclization like this. So these are the movement of radicals. And so this ring system here forms a benzene type of ring. I'm just going to draw this. This is the rest of the structure. And forms a benzene type structure with lone electrons on the top and the bottom. So these are both called radicals. Oops. So this is a diradical. Okay, and these radicals, the way that this works is that this whole molecule, part of the molecule here, recognizes DNA. And binds to DNA with very strict sequence selectivity of the base pairs in DNA. So once this portion binds to DNA, these two radicals bridge across the double strand and they pull off two hydrogens. So it pulls off two H's from the DNA backbone, and that causes the backbone to cleave. Alright, so calicheamycin is a DNA damaging agent. It cleaves in only specific places along the DNA strand, and this has been looked at as a potential anti-cancer drug. So this is just I was at the University of Utah as a postdoctoral research associate when this molecule was first discovered, and there was a chemist from a pharmaceutical company that came and gave a seminar and talked all about this structure, and it was really interesting. Alright, so let's look at the general IUPAC type of naming. Okay, so just like with alkenes, what we're going to do is we're going to drop this A and E. Remember, A and E goes for alkane, all single bonds, and we're going to convert that to alkyne. Alright, so we drop the A and E, and we add E and E, and this means that we have a triple bond. Okay? The naming is going to go just the same after that. So if we do the simplest triple bond on the upper left here, there's two carbons here. Ethane would be the alkane, right? If we start with ethane, we drop the A and E. This would be called ethyne. Okay, so that's the IUPAC name. This also has a common name that you've probably heard of before. It's called acetylene. And this is a gas. It's commonly used in welding. All right, so let's look at some slightly more complicated alkynes. So the next one, all right, has one substituent. We're going to number this like we have before to give the alkyne the lowest possible number. So we're going to number it from right to left. And just to point this out, one thing we need to make sure of when we're numbering these is this position right here at the end of the triple bond, there's a carbon at that position, right? Even though it's straight, we have the junction between the triple bond and the single bond, and so we have to make sure to count that as a separate carbon. All right, so this starts with pentane. This is a pentyne then. Okay, the alkyne could be at various places along that chain, and so we have to give it a number for it, and we'll give a number just like we did with alkenes. So this is a 1-pentyne, and we have one substituent here. We have this methyl group is at the 4 position, 4-methyl 1-pentyne. All right, let's do another one. Okay, again, we're going to number the longest chain, and again, we're going to, in these molecules, we're going to number it so the alkyne gets the lowest number. So an alkyne is going to take priority over an alkyl group or an ether, something like that. So we're going to number this from right to left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, so this is an octyne. Triple bond is at 3, so this is a 3-octyne. Right, and we have a substituent, this one here, what's that called? It's got an ethyl group, 2 carbons attached to an oxygen, so this is eth-oxy. Right, so it has a 7 ethoxy, 3-octyne. So is that complete? Is that all we have to worry about here? Well, from the last exam, remember we learned about chirality, and so this position at position 7 is a chiral center, right? So let's draw in the H that's missing, and let's figure out whether that's an R or an S chiral center. Alright, so we got to rank these groups, remember. So the oxygen is going to rank as number 1. Hydrogen is clearly going to be number 4. Alright, this whole chain to the right, starting with carbon 6 with the alkyne, is going to be ranking 2. The methyl group's going to be 3. So we go 1, 2, 2 to 3, 3 back to 1. And so this is an R chiral center. So R, 7-ethoxy, 3-octyne. Alright, so if we have more than one alkyne, then we can call it a diene. Alright, so let's number this one. We want to give the first triple bond the lowest possible number. So just like, I guess, all these other ones that I'm doing, everything's going from right to left. Alright, so this is an octa. No, it's a... Oh, did I number that wrong? 1, 2... Oh, I did. Look at that. I skipped 3. Nobody told me. You guys didn't even catch it, did you? Okay, so this is an octadiene. Alright, and we can give numbers for those too. So one alkyne is at 2, and one of them is at 5. 2, 5, octadiene. And then we have a methyl group at 7. 7 methyl 2,5 octadiene. Alright, let's just do one more. So in this case we have a double bond and a triple bond. Okay, so we always name it when we have an alkene and an alkyne, we always name it as an ene. Okay, we always name the ene part of it first. Alright, basically these have the same priority, except if there's a tie. Okay, in a tie. So that means if we had the same numbering to give the alkyne or the alkene the lowest possible number. In that case, if we have a tie, then the alkene has priority. Oops. Can't hardly fit that in, so that would be the alkene would have the priority. So let's look at this numbering. So in this case, if we number from left to right, we're going to number here 1, 2, 3. Our first functional group gets at 3. If we number from right to left, 1, 2, we have our first functional group at position 2. So we're going to number this from the right to left. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, so this is going to come from octane, right? But we have an ene and we have an yne, so we're going to have an octene yne. All right, so let's start from the end. Start from the yne, because we know that's going to go on to the end. So what number is that going to give? We're going to put the number right in front of yne, so we know that that number goes with that functional group. Okay, so the alkyne is at position 5. All right, and then we have the ene, and we can go ahead and write the octene here. Oops, let me try to link those up a little better. Octene, and the double bond is at position 2. All right, so what else do we have? All right, so of course we have this methyl group right here, and so we're going to have also a 2-methyl 2-octene 5-yne. Now we're going to do some molecules that have more than one functional group. Well, those had 2 functional groups, right? Either 2 alkynes or an alkene and an alkyne, but let's add in alcohols and amines. All right, so what we have to do when we have more than one functional group is we have to prioritize the different functional groups, okay? And the highest priority functional groups will get to use the suffix in the name, okay? As we go this way, we're going to higher priority, and so we're going to name the higher priority with a suffix. Okay? If we have a lower priority group in there as well, if we're going this way, then we have to use a prefix. Okay, so we have to name those in a different way. So let's just look at 2 functional groups that we know a little bit about so far. The highest priority groups are these. These are called carbonyl groups. There's a whole bunch of these, but you won't really learn about the naming or the chemistry of those until second semester OChem. Okay, so let's just give an example here. So if we have an OH and an alcohol, right? How do we usually name an alcohol? We usually name it with a suffix, right? And we know that we usually put an OL at the end of the name, right? Like ethanol, butanol. So if the alcohol was not the highest priority, then we would have to name it with a prefix, right? And the prefix for an alcohol is hydroxy, right? Just like hydroxide, right? But hydroxy. Okay, we don't really know any higher priority functional groups in an alcohol yet, and so we won't really use that yet. We'll learn it later on. So the other group here that we have is an amine. So NH2. We learned that we just put amine at the end of the name. And if we need to use this as a prefix, we name it like a substituent as amino. Alright, so let's just look at it for multifunctional group molecules. Okay, so each of these molecules has two functional groups. Alright, so we have an alkene and we have an alcohol. Okay, so which one of these has higher priority? All right, so the alcohol has higher priority. So the first thing that this tells us, we're going to number the molecule to give the longest chain that includes that alcohol, and we're going to give the alcohol the lowest possible number. Right, so we're going to number this from left to right, because that puts the alcohol at 3. Even though if we numbered it from right to left, we'd have the alkene at 2, right? 2 would be before 3, but it's the alcohol that takes the higher priority. Alright, so we're going to number this, name this as an ene and an ol. Okay, so both of these can go in the ending of the name. So ene can be combined with other suffixes. Alright, so this is 6. So this is a hexene, hexene ol. Alright, and now we have to figure out where to put our numbers, right? We have a 3 for the alcohol, and we have a 4 for the alkene. So where should we put those numbers to make sure they're associated with the right groups? Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to usually put the 3 for the alcohol right before the OL. 3-ol. And the 4 for the alkene, we can put it out in front. Hexene, 3-ol. And then, of course, we got a methyl group here too. And I'm going to have a hard time fitting this in, but we got 5-methyl, like this, 4-hexene, 3-ol. If we had a more complicated molecule, another way we could do this, or another place we can put the number, is hex 4-ene, 3-ol. Alright, so in this case we put the 4 right here just before the ene, so we know that that goes to this, goes to the ene, and the 3 goes to the alcohol. So either of these would be fine. Alright, so let's look at the next one. We have an amine, and we have an alcohol. Okay, so which one of those takes priority? Right, so it's the alcohol that takes priority, so we're going to number the chain to give that the lowest number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, so this is going to be a 2-pentanol, and we have this amine at the 4 position. Right, so usually with an amine we put it at the end, but now because the alcohol has higher priority, we'll say 4-amino 2-pentanol. So we're naming the amine group as a prefix or as a substituent. Okay, one more example here. So here we have a cycloalkene, right, and an alcohol. So we have the alkene and the alcohol. The alcohol takes priority, right, so that's going to be number 1. And then we're going to number it to give the alkene, the next highest priority group, the second highest number, or the lowest number that we can. So we're going to number it this way. Okay, so this is a pentanol to start out with. right? But because we have an alkene in it, we're going to have to make this a pentenol, right? Do we have to give a number for the alcohol? No, because it's in a ring, and that's the highest priority functional group, then we don't have to put the number. It's automatically going to be at number 1. Okay, so the number is not needed. Right, but we will need a number for the alkene. So this is a 2-pentenol. Well, not exactly. What else did I mess up here? This is a 2-cyclopentenol, right? Cyclo 2-cyclopentenol. And then we have a methyl group at the 5 position, 5-methyl 2-cyclopentenol. Flip this around, and we're going to take some names here, and we're going to draw their structures. All right, so what do we look for first if we're drawing a structure from a name? All right, so the first thing we've got to figure out is how long a chain is. So we're going to look in the parent name. So here we got hept, right? So we know we have 7 carbons. All right, so I'm just going to start out by drawing 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, and so then we can just start this. We have a ethyl group at 5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have an ethyl group here. 4, we have an ene. So that's the position right before that, 4. And then 3, all. 1, 2, 3, all. All right, so let's just do this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5 ethyl, 4 heptene, 3 all. All right, looks good. All right, so let's try the next one. So how many carbons do we have in this chain? Known. So we got 9, right? And it's got an alkyne in it. So what I'm going to do here, I'm just going to, like I did before, just draw out 9. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. All right, at the 7 position, we have a chloro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we have a propoxy. What's a propoxy? So prop is 3, oxy. So we're making an ether. 1, 2, 3, O. 1, 2, 3, a propoxy like that. And 4 ine. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to have a triple bond here. All right, so this is okay. This is a way to build this up, but what we'll talk about at the beginning of the next video is that the angles here are not really right. Right, so these should be 180 degrees, and so usually what I'd do is I'd redraw this then. So what do we say? We got the at 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have our triple bond, and that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so here is our propoxy, and our chlorine would be here. Okay, so we notice that this part is linear. Okay, one more. All right, oh, this one's complicated. Look at all the different things we got in here. All right, so where do we look first? So how long is this chain going to be? Okay, so known right here. So again, it's going to be 9. So I'm going to do this in 2 steps like I did before. So this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? We have 4,4-dimethyl. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4,4-dimethyl. 7-ene. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-ene. 2-ine. 1, 2-ine. 5-ol. Right, so that's at the end, has the highest priority. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ol. All right, so let's redraw this so the geometry around that alkyne is better. All right, so this part would be linear. Here's our dimethyl. Here's our alcohol. Like this. Okay, so the next thing we'd have to figure out is that this says E. So what does that mean? Okay, so the E goes to the alkene, right? E and Z double bond. So let's figure out whether I drew that correctly. All right, so let's go over this double bond. Let's put our 2 H's in here that would be on there. Okay, so is this an E? All right, so we'd have this as being high, low, high, low. Right, so the high groups are on opposite. Right, so this is E, so that's what it's supposed to be. Alright, so now once we've done all of this, it looks pretty good, but let's figure out whether this name is actually correct. Okay, is this correct? Okay, so what do we have to consider? So again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have the alkyne at 2. If we numbered it from the other side, we'd have the alkene at 2. Alright, so what did we say? Well, let's look at here too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the alcohol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Look at it, it's a tie for the alcohol. And then we have a tie between the alkene and the alkyne. So what did we say? Which of those takes priority if there's a tie? The alkene takes priority, right? Alkene takes priority over alkyne in a tie. Right, so actually we should have numbered this from the other end if we want to name this correctly. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so the correct name, right, so it would still be E, right, so the double bond's not changing. E. What do we have here? We're still going to be in the same order, so we're still going to have our our dimethyl, but now they're going to be at 6, 6 dimethyl, right? And then we have our ene is now at 2, 2 nonene. And then our alkyne is 7-ine, and our alcohol is still at 5. I almost didn't put my number in there. Ine, 5-ol. Dang, that one is complicated. Alright, so that's the end of our naming. And so in the next video, we're going to start to talk about the reactivity of alkynes. We're going to compare that to the reactivity of alkenes.